Welcome to Mirza and Sons, your one-stop shop for information and entertainment. I'm Kamran.
I'm Assad.
That took a second.
That's me. I'm Assad. That's Kamran right here. I always point at him, for some reason. Hi, I'm Assad. Hi, Kamran. Why are we here? Let's talk about why are you not eating meat these days? What made you change your eating habits? Okay, so talk a little bit about that. Why are you not eating meat?
Well, it's all based on just a basic care for other humans, and then the environment as a whole, and then other species out there. So one big thing is the human aspect, which is meat consumption is the most inefficient form of food consumption. One, because a lot of the benefits that people talk about you getting from eating meat, you can get it from other foods, and on top of that, even from, like, if we're gonna talk about the potential taste benefits, you can get that from just putting a little bit more than salt and pepper on your food.
Okay, well, I can go with that. Okay.
So then from there, it's a lot about, cutting down on the waste that goes into it, and then and waste not meaning by the amount of meat that's wasted, which there is a lot of meat wasted, but meat sort of in the economic terms of an opportunity cost. So, like, you know about that, but like what could be being used with those same resources, what we could do.
You're talking about conversion, like how much food resources, natural resources it takes to raise a cow versus if you use the same resources to grow a crop or something. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah. So like what was it? It's one football field of cattle feeds one family for a year, whereas if you took a football field of land and grew wheat, vegetables, fruits, whatever you want to grow on it, it will feed 100 families for a year, just due to the nutrients which are in grain and other produce. And not only that, but then also that they are more filling, and that they actually take up far less space than cattle. Cattle, you have to have like room to graze. You have to have a lot of feeding goes into it, a lot of which could be given to people to feed people. For example, like in the U.S., which I don't know if it's the same in other countries or not, but like feeding cattle corn. Is that a pretty common practice, or is that mostly a U.S. thing?
Really a U.S. thing, but
yeah,
maybe some in Europe, but yeah.
Because, like, I mean, that corn could easily be used to feed people instead, and we could just cut down on our cattle production.
So, if you hear a lot of people, they talk about that there's more productive way, there are more efficient ways to raise cattle, to raise animals, and their belief system is that if by using science, different scientific biological methods, we can continue to increase meat output, that we can continue to feed people meat. So some people believe that they can actually overcome this challenge of that, hey, meat is less efficient, that they can overcome that challenge. So if they can do that, let's say, will you still actually go eat meat, or you're like, no?
Well, it depends. Are we talking about, like, when you say more productive, do you mean through the use of, like, creating meat through like structuring it from the ground up based on other products, like making synthetic meats, or do you mean more productively organizing our meat industry?
Well, I think there is a lot of people that they're doing that on the synthetic side, but then also there is a huge effort that is being put on meat industry itself, okay? And then there is this significant amount of work that is being done on genetics, on growth curves. So there's a lot of work that is being done to accelerate meat production. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the meat industry, whether it is through cattle or poultry, is always going to be unsustainable. You can't create a productive system which is based on the direct destruction of your very product. For example, same thing goes for deforestation, for example. You can't create a whole system based on tearing down forests, because eventually you have to continuously increase your output until you run out to the point of your output would be essentially one of Earth a day. And I mean, that's unrealistic for the current goal, but I mean, eventually, through the need to continuously grow your market, that's what has to happen. So what would need to be done is either, rather than focusing on continuing to reorganize the meat industry as it exists already while still maintaining this unsustainable format of relying on cattle and poultry as a food source, we could instead be using those same resources to create more renewable forms of food consumption through vegetables, things like that, and into investing more into places like the Impossible Burger and stuff like that, creating synthetic meat substitutes, through whether you want to do it through beans so you still have the protein, whether you want to do it through eggplant, like Mom did with the lasagna when we were doing the vegan thing. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find plenty of realistic and sometimes even better substitutes for food-based items. I mean, like we get that Kung Pao shrimp or cauliflower thing.
Yeah.
Instead of the shrimp salad, it's cauliflower, and it's just as good.
Yeah. So for you, is this more of a health thing, or is it more of what's good for us humans, what's good for Earth? What's your bigger motivation to make this change?
Well, I guess it's not... with health, there's always the assumption that we're talking about personal health. It's not about personal health, because, I mean, yeah, I want to be healthy and things of that sort, but at the same time, there's the bigger focus that needs to be had on what is best for humanity as a whole. We can't think of it as, I need to do what's best for the individual. The individual is nothing without the collective.
So there could be some people that they may say, who are you to think for me? If I want to eat meat, if I want to eat, whatever, who are you to think for me? Who are you to decide for me?
In that situation, you're demonstrating that you are then willing to put yourself over a greater good. And it doesn't matter what standard you follow for your morals. Every single moral code, except for extremely individualistic and ego-based ones, will tell you that it is necessary for us to take care of other people around us as well. Even religions has that. You're supposed to take care of your fellow man and of your brother, even if that means self-sacrifice. If you need to change your diet, which is a relatively small sacrifice, especially with the fact that if you look at most of your foods, and if you try and eat just plain meat, I mean, it's not the tastiest thing. It's all about what you cook it with. So it's not even a big detriment to your diet, because no matter what the diet change is, you can still have that taste and you can still get those proteins. So it's genuinely just a choice out of greed.
Yeah. You know, my friends in Texas, they're not going to appreciate this video. 'Cause
I mean, it happens.
they love steak. Well, I do too, but you know.
I mean, I do too, but I'd much rather
All right. Okay.
sustain the earth.
All right. All right. So what's up with you still eating fish? What's up with that?
Well, there's two things. Fish and the continuous production of fish-based meats isn't nearly as harmful for the environment and the earth as the production of poultry and cattle. For example, cows produce a ridiculous amount of methane every year, which does wind up actually hurting our environment. Same thing happens with different forms of poultry, but in a different manner. They don't produce the same amount of methane, but they still harm the environment around them. But what's different about fish is two things. One, they don't take away from potential grain production. There's really no grain that we grow that is based in the rivers and the lakes and stuff like that.
Not yet.
Not yet. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll. Is coral edible?
No idea.
I was just wondering that now.
Yeah. No idea.
Other than like seaweed and things like that,
Yeah.
there's not really much that we grow in the water, so it doesn't actually take away from our grain or vegetable production. But at the same time, it does not eat away at a large amount of other resources. Now, if you're going after endangered animals, that's a whole different story. For example, the fishing for sharks and specifically certain subsections of sharks,
Yeah.
and the fishing of dolphins and whales is pretty harmful for the environment, because eventually, with how low those numbers already are due to the changes in our climate and other factors, it would not be hard for us to fish them into extinction. Humans have been able to make so many animals go extinct. There was actually a type of bird that used to fly through the U.S., and they would go in such tight packs, and there were so many of them per pack that it would make the sky go dark for a bit if they flew over your house. But
Okay.
people started just taking like the bird pellets, the ones that would scatter out,
Right.
and just started firing into the sky. And eventually we hunted them to the point of they are no longer a thing.
Oh wow. Okay.
And that's a pretty recent development too. That was in the 1800s.
Oh wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, we humans, we have a tendency of destroying whatever comes our way.
Yeah.
So, I get it.
So it's one of those things. But then, like, if you look at certain fish, like salmon or like cod or something like that, unless you're in specific niche areas, for example, some native tribes in Canada rely on this one area where they're trying to run the large pipeline through. Now, in that area, it would be difficult simply because of if that pipeline bursts and the numbers aren't great enough for fish in that region, it would wind up making the fish in that lake go extinct.
Oh wow.
And that's the danger. And that's not their fault. Some people are trying to put the blame directly onto the natives for that, but that's more of the fault of the giant push for that pipeline to be put through. It's an unnecessary pipeline. First, it's not going to provide a lot of economic benefit. But in places like that, yeah, it would be kind of dangerous to even continue the production of fish meat. But in most areas, we don't have that same issue.
Okay. All right. So I'm still not giving up meat.
Understandably, I can't
Okay.
blame you.
All right. So if there is a message you want to leave everybody with, what would be that message? Short, simple, and sweet.
Even if you're gonna keep eating meat, just try and cut it down a bit. If you can get it even to like even some European countries which still consume meat quite a bit, they do cut down their meat consumption, and even just cutting it can do a whole lot of good. Just going, for example, pescatarian for a year winds up preventing.
Is that some sort of a Christian sect?
It's eating only fish
Oh.
for
all
me,
right.
and then going
You had me confused for a second.
It happens.
Right.
But pescatarian for a year saves around 32 cows from being killed and produced into meat-based products. So even that 32 would then cut the amount of cattle they hold the next year. And even if we just cut it to maybe 1,000 more people going pescatarian, that's 32,000 more cows. So.
Wow. Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, I guess everybody has their choice to make. You want to eat meat, eat meat. That's what I do. But I think I do like the idea of actually cutting it down. Maybe there is. I do like the idea. When I was growing up, there was such a thing in Pakistan where it was meat holiday. If I remember it correctly, I think it was Tuesdays and Wednesdays of every week, where you could actually you could not buy meat. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't that where the idea, like the fish fry, came in the U.S.? Was like you weren't supposed to eat other meats on Friday?
No idea. Something to look at. But I know when I was growing up, that was a thing in Pakistan where, and the nice thing was that at that time, people did not have, or majority of the people did not have refrigerators either. So you literally actually didn't have meat those 2 days because otherwise it would go bad. Now they tried it again, tried to create some sort of a meat holiday. Now the problem is the people the day before, they go and order twice as much and put it in the refrigerator. So the benefit of meat holiday is not really working.
Yeah.
But I do like that idea. Maybe, okay, you don't want to give up, that's fine. But cut the consumption, help the earth, help fellow humans. So I admire you for what you're doing. It's for a good cause, good purpose. Keep at it. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time.